Welcome to the Creating Experience podcast, where we take you behind the scenes of unforgettable events. I'm Emma and I'm joined by my co-host James. Together we bring you years of experience in the event industry.
And we are back once again.
Yay!
Another little hiatus. That was the last 3 months.
I'm telling you, it's been busy.
It has been very busy. So today we are talking event management.
Yes.
And more so contract event management. So essentially working as an event manager for a shorter period of time as opposed to being full-time employed.
Yes, which has been very interesting.
And this has come off the back because you've done 2 events recently where you've gone into organisations as a contractor.
Yep.
And I also recently did one for another local organisation as well.
Yes.
And I suppose what we wanted to do was break down the service and why it's beneficial for organisations. So I suppose we'll start off by identifying what organisations this service would be applicable for.
So I guess the ones that the kind of organisations that we did it for.
Yeah, start there.
I'll do that. And then, because it might spark, it was a little bit different to what you would normally come across. So one was for an organisation that had been successful in winning some funding from the government, and none of them in the organisation had event management experience, and they very quickly realised when they were trying to put together an event that they needed some assistance. So able to pick that one up. The second one was the event manager that was looking after the event, booked an overseas trip and left. During the event, and she left.
The trip booked before the event happened? Or,
I don't actually know. I can't
that's like
answer
rule number
that.
one as an event manager, isn't it? Don't book an event, then book a holiday.
And for me, it's like I want to see the event through.
Yeah.
So that one, she left, and it was literally the week after I picked up the event and ran with it.
Yeah.
Which was crazy. And then your one?
My one was essentially, it was run in the past by a committee of industry professionals that would exhibit at this. It was an expo.
Yep.
But it was run by a group of industry professionals who would normally exhibit. So the trade-off, and it is a charity event. It's run by the local Lions Club, and they would essentially put this expo on. The funds raised from the expo would go to one of the causes that they support every year. But it was put together by a committee of wedding professionals.
Yep.
One of which we were on the committee.
We were
for some time. But what we found is that it was
too many cooks.
It was just too many meetings.
There's a lot of meetings.
But we'd have a lot of meetings monthly for this event. And I suppose one of the points we're going to get into is that we could be a lot more efficient.
A lot more efficient
by engaging someone such as us to run the whole thing from start to finish. So that's the three events that we've done recently in the last 60 days.
Yeah, that's why it's been busy, because it's essentially stepping into roles as well as doing our own work as well. But it's been cool. It's been really good learning experience too, to go back into some corporate worlds, which is good and interesting at the same time. But I guess from our side of things, the event management is something that we do day in, day out.
Yep.
And really the reason why we decided to do this topic today is because event management for organisations that don't have an events team, this could be a really good problem solving.
Yeah. Typically we find when organisations run an event, it's like that show we're watching at the moment.
I know, it's so funny.
Where they plan a Christmas party and they go, oh no, was it 1 year anniversary? And they go, don't let it take away from the day to day.
Yeah.
And literally everything they're doing then for the next week is
about that.
About the party instead of actually doing their jobs.
Their own work.
So
it's so funny.
So Yeah, it essentially comes down to looking at like most businesses, whether they're running a product launch or an end of year celebration. Like we're going to start to see it with
Or
end of year
awards
celebrations.
nights.
Yeah, where essentially a staff member might pick up and run with it. And what we typically we'll find a couple of things is that their time will get chewed up in trying to run the event.
Yeah. Plan the event.
And then run the event, which is a whole different beast in itself.
Yeah.
And essentially, a lot of organisations probably don't actually look at the cost that actually costs them
Yeah,
to
it's
run
more
the event. And if you break down the numbers, it's probably actually a lot cheaper
just to engage us.
just to get us to do it the first time
Yeah.
right. To engage us to do it the first time right, and a lot more efficient. And
the other positive thing too is that we've got the industry contacts as well.
Yeah.
So being able to pull on our suppliers that we deal with day in, day out, know their costings or roundabout costings, and not having to Google local suppliers.
Or get quotes.
Or get
That's what we
quotes,
find.
yeah.
You
still gotta get quotes,
And
but-
when you talk an event budget,
Yeah.
I suppose a lot of people don't realise that, well, they don't know what things cost, so they can't even start with the budget. They actually start by going to suppliers. And we see it all the time. We get people going, oh, I'm just looking for a quote. And the problem is that they actually don't even know
What we're
it's
quoting.
what it's going to cost them.
That's true.
So by engaging someone that actually knows that, like you can look at a quote, you can look at an AV quote or a catering quote and go,
Oh, that's a
Yep,
bit much.
that's a bit much, or that's probably not enough,
Yep.
and which is a lot of the areas where people get stuck because they just go and take the cheapest quote.
and
it's
then
not-
feel that they're not filling everything that they need.
Yeah. So having that, having, as you said, having the industry experience to be able to look at something, but we take out all the fishing for quotes,
Yeah.
call it,
Yep.
let alone then you've got all the contacts with the suppliers. So you've got suppliers that you can call them and they'll pick up the phone for you.
That's right.
So
Yeah, exactly. So what else were we talking about? Event management on the day as well. So not only the preparation in the lead up to the event, but the actual on the day.
that's where everyone actually crumbles, typically.
Yeah.
Typically, everyone crumbles on the day when you don't have an event management company running it, because one, they might not factor in how much time they need.
Or it might
them
be
set up.
a tight turnaround. So the last two events that I've worked on is having people come in and not knowing how long it takes. But if you've got a short bump in time, the best way for that to
You got to get it right first time.
to execute it. So, for example, loading in, how long it takes, even down to like where the loading dock is, making sure that people know where it is,
Yep.
what the access is to that,
Yep.
all of that kind of things that we take into account as well. So having a really good vendor bump in information sheet as well. There's some very tricky venues out there. The last two venues were Sydney based, so that makes things just a little bit more difficult because you've got to take into account parking and loading docks and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we had the same issue with that one too.
What was that?
Well, it was a bit of a push for the boys for the gear.
Right.
And the side doors.
Oh,
We
right.
had stages as well, which don't fit through that normal door that we go through. So
Right.
we had to it was probably about 35 minutes of unloading the truck and getting the gear in. And if you don't factor that in,
To your setup time.
setup time.
The other thing too is having enough people to load in and load out. So,
Lachlan's looking at me now because we didn't have enough people on that event.
I was lucky. I was fortunate enough that we had volunteers, which was great.
Yeah.
That's probably another thing to look at, and something that I haven't really looked at in the past is volunteers. So people that are happy to come and load in and load out. No, you're looking at me like...
Oh, well, we felt.
Yeah, I mean, these two companies that...
There's a difference between it, obviously. Yeah. It depends on the type of the event.
Yeah.
Well, we had volunteers at ours. We had the
You
Lions
did?
Club ladies.
Yeah, exactly.
They were lovely.
Yep. Run sheets, I think that kind of we're going back now to the pre-admin.
I didn't actually put these in order, these points.
No, these were just our notes from last night, but well, yeah.
So run sheets
but it is.
vendor management.
It's really important, run sheets, and making sure you have time to do each of those components for the run sheet. So if you're talking about during a show and you might have a particular segment of the event.
Yep.
I'm trying not to be specific.
No, you can be. I reckon you need to be specific.
Okay, so auctions.
Yep.
I'm just going to throw it out there. Making sure that you've got enough time. If you've got auctions, whether they're live auctions or silent auctions or your raffles, just making sure that they are all factored into time.
Exactly right.
Because
And it's always better to have too
much time
allocated.
Run early.
Not enough time allocated.
And the other issue I had too was that the venue needed us out by a certain time because
What time they need you out by?
10:30.
They needed you out.
Well, they needed the event finished at 10:30.
What time
Sorry,
did you have to be out from?
11. But
11.
yeah, because at least all of our guests out and cleared.
No. What time did they want to shut the venue?
No, because they were turning the space around for an event the next morning.
Oh.
So all the vendors were changing. So all the chairs,
Everything had to change.
everything had
Was
to
the same
change.
AV company doing the next day?
No.
Oh, wow.
No.
Yeah, right.
I think they were using the in-house for the next day though.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was very
But no, that's a very
very
good point.
tight.
Actually, I think a tip for event managers, or anyone planning event in general, is when you book your venue, book. I think we've said this before. Anyway, book the venue from the time you need to load in to the time you need to load out. Do not just book it for the 5-hour period of your event, because if you engage an AV company or a stylist or any other
gonna need
suppliers,
time.
we just don't magically set up in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
And that's the other thing too. If you see someone, say you've got an event coming in, and this was I think I noticed it only because we're a production company as well. But let the AV guys, if it's not us, let the AV guys set up. Let the stylists set up. Give them time to do what they need to do before you start interrupting them. And if you need to do a show rehearsal, have a designated time to do a show rehearsals.
Yep.
Which we did have, but it was still like letting the AV company set up
Yeah.
and let them, because, yeah.
And now you've said all this. This obviously sounds like a lot of admin and paperwork. I'm assuming you'd have all these template files.
Oh, I have all the template files. There we go. That's the other thing about
Another perk.
using us is you don't need to recreate the world when you're using us as well. So the other one we thought of last night too is that event spaces.
Yes.
So making sure that if you've got 220 guests, that your tables, chairs, space for the venue staff to get around,
Stage.
the stage,
AV.
speakers, yes.
AV table.
And even like your raffle tables, auction item tables, you need to make sure that you allocate space for every one of those. Then if it might be an expo, which we both did. And the most important thing, I guess, is asking the venue for a site map.
Yep.
And
To
then
scale.
to scale, and then making sure that anything that you're placing in that site map, so tables, chairs, etc., again, are to scale.
Yes.
And I guess that's the other perk that we've got, is that we've got access to those programs
Yep.
as well.
Yep. Yeah, site layouts, that's
Huge.
because at the end of the day, and I know from the production side, when we're doing like awards dinners, we'll do site maps that show where everything is going to go.
Yep.
So that when we turn up on the day and we put a big 3-meter truss up right in the side of the room to hang some lights off it,
There's
the
space
venue
for it.
doesn't go, oh,
I didn't know
what's
that was
this?
going in
What's
there.
this going here? So it's because the venue really, when you book with a venue and the event planner at the venue, a lot of the time they just have blinkers on for what Why do you say that? You're like, oh, great, here he goes. He's whinging about venues.
No. I get it.
But they don't.
But they
Honestly,
don't
a lot of the
understand.
time-
They
a lot of the time
probably
they don't see the bigger picture.
Yeah, or don't understand
Or
no.
sometimes the
It might be just a gap between the AV side and the venue side where they don't understand how much space you might need.
Yes. Well, they don't. But it's not like, let's be real. Most of the time, it's a thing that we're bringing up from a talent
Yeah.
side, even.
Yeah. Yes.
Like there was that one you. that was that one that you
Good catch.
did where we had to fit a band in the room with the AV.
I'm just trying to think what one that was.
I'm not going to mention names. And you got plans after plans, and none of them were to
It
scale.
must have been a bad memory because I'd forgotten
You've
it
forgotten about
already.
But essentially, the venue sold that they could have that many people.
Oh, yes, I'm with you now.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a big one.
Yeah. And then you spend the next 3 weeks trying to work out how we're going to squish everyone in because contracts have been signed and
Yeah,
the venue's oversold.
yeah,
So it's
Definitely.
being aware of that.
yeah.
And
Yes, that was a
that
big
comes
one.
back to picking your venue in the first place.
And I guess the few events that I've been involved in of late, it's coming in at those last minutes when things have already
You're fixing
started to happen. Yeah, so it's actually fixing and noticing those problems and yeah,
would've been
making
a
it
lot
work.
smoother- it would've been a lot smoother from the start, wouldn't it?
be nice to come in on an event
But we're happy to come in at any point,
any point. Yeah,
just preferably the start.
I'd love the start. It'd be really good. The other thing too is power access. So,
Start me.
so for example, one of the ones that I worked on is being able to identify who needs power, who doesn't need power.
Yep.
Where are you going to put those people that do need power, and where are you going to put the people that don't need it?
Yeah.
So that's another thing that the contract that I was on, she didn't realize how much work goes into thinking things like that.
Yep.
About who needs it, who doesn't, and where
Yes,
we're going to
mate.
get it from too.
And it's making sure that you've prepared that because that can show up a lot of time on the day too. It's the one we did. Again, was an expo.
Yep.
But we were responsible for laying out the power for everyone. So everyone, when the exhibitors turned up, they actually had the power
ready to go.
Ready
Yep.
to go. We knew it all worked, and it just saved time then in that crunch time before the event
Definitely.
because everything was ready to go.
Definitely.
But power is a big one,
Huge.
particularly again for your AV. If you want a LED screen, you're typically going to need some 3-phase
Yep.
power. What's 3-phase power? Ask us.
What is three-phase power?
Let me just tell you, it's not your standard power. It's not your standard power outlets.
It's a lot more.
It's a lot more power than
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
But yeah, that's obviously again one of the. I don't know. The last point there is obviously fixed contracts. The 2 contracts you did, they weren't fixed. They were paying you by the hour.
Yep.
But the other way that you can do this is if you come to a company such as us and go, "This is the project we want to deliver.
Yep.
How much is it going to cost?"
Budget.
And we pre-do that before, and we go, "It's going to cost X amount of dollars," provided you don't change the requirements on that one.
Goalposts.
Goalposts.
Either way works.
But there is that
However, it
ability
is
to have
nice
that.
to have a
If
flexible.
this is
Yeah.
your budget.
Yeah. And then we kind of know too
And I suppose that
how many hours we
technically,
have.
because and when you're looking at this, it comes back to that whole round picture. I mean, you look at the first one, that was a committee of volunteers, wasn't it, that you were working with?
Yep.
But the second one, there was a whole corporate team,
Correct.
which every hour they spend on that event is the business's
Yeah,
time, and money.
Definitely.
And that's a
And
problem.
it wasn't just one event manager, and
No.
it was a
You sat in a couple of big meetings there.
group of a lot of meetings about
So-
meetings.
That's probably the biggest thing is that companies just, again, they don't realize how much resources and wages
And time it takes
they chew up. Which
out of
would be
the day-to-day duties.
better spent doing the day-to-day and get someone to come in and do it much more efficiently.
Yep.
But
Cool.
I got nothing else on that.
That's it. I think that's
You all got
everything. Yeah. That was good. We love event management. Well, I do.
You do. I don't mind it. I'll do it.
You'll do it when I don't have time.
I'll do it when you don't have time.
All right, cool. Well, that's a wrap for us.
If you enjoyed this podcast, you can find more episodes on YouTube or our Spotify account. And if you need any assistance with an event coming up, you can reach out to us at www.jcentertainment.com.au.